gonna get started. All right, how's everybody doing this afternoon? We're gonna get started. Okay. So you guys are here for the Fighting for Fatherhood seminar, and this is a really exciting seminar for myself and the Starts Within organization, because just the greatest responsibility that I know I have encountered as an adult, which is the responsibility of the development of an actual individual. So one thing that I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, it is no perfect parents out there. Is it any perfect parents out there? Right. There's no perfect parents out there. So understanding that it is no perfect parents out there, what that tells me is that it is room for improvement, right? So if it is room for improvement, then why not take every opportunity that is out there for us to become better parents, right? To become better fathers, right? Get into conversations that can help us become better fathers if it is room for improvement, because our children, they mean that much to us. Our children are valuable, right? They are valuable, and the way that they will end up is based on what we pour into them. So then that's why it is so important to get into as much things that we can possibly get into to help us do that. I always tell people, if we need additional education to be a businessman, if we need additional education to be a mechanic, I mean, you wouldn't trust somebody who said, man, you know what, hey, I looked at the YouTube video and I seen how to change brakes and I'm gonna change the brakes. Would you go 60 miles per hour in that car? And somebody said that, you know, I looked at a couple of YouTube videos, I know something about, man, changing brakes. You know, would you trust that individual with your car? Right, absolutely. You want somebody with some specialized knowledge. So then that's why I always encourage people as a whole, man, go ahead and get as much knowledge as you possibly can. They say, man, this stuff ain't in a book. Well, it is manuals on parenting, on establishing a strong, positive relationship with your children. And when you have that positive relationship, now you will have influence. The only way that we will be able to have influence with our children is through what? A positive relationship. But we got to be intentional on establishing that. So what we will cover today is just things that can prevent us from having that strong, positive relationship with our children. We will cover some of the things as far as legality is concerned with our children, how to get established in the courts, shared parenting plans, parenting time orders, and things like that, how to navigate the child support system. We will cover that. We will cover how to, just some good pointers about interactions with your children, just some good pointers of conversation starters, just to get the conversation going. We will cover that. And me, myself, I will be talking about the foundations of fatherhood, right? And that's just understanding what is my goals as a father, and then what is the goals that I have for my children, meaning what type of adults do I want them to become. So then that's what it's about. So right now we are underway. The first person that I got up presenting, his name is Glenn Harris. And Glenn, I met Glenn years back, and I remember that I was going through some things as far as my son was concerned, and getting established in the course with my shared parenting plan, because I couldn't access my son at that time. So, and Glenn, he was like, man, this is how you put together a shared parenting plan, and he coached me through that, and now I understood, man, okay, well, you don't need no lawyer, right? Because I didn't have no money for lawyer at that time. I was making like $8, $9 an hour, so lawyer wasn't on my radar. And then he showed me also how not to pay filing fees as well. So it was just critical information that was learned because of his expertise. So I used to think that he was a lawyer. I thought he was a lawyer because he was down in the courts. And I said, man, this brother got to be a lawyer or something, right? Because he just had so much codes and stuff in his head. 3109.042, brother. You don't have no access to your children. No rights. I'm like, brother, how do you know all of this stuff, brother? Right? But he had worked with so many fathers, and that's how he got that information. And he's just been an advocate for fathers in Columbus, Ohio, Franklin County, you know, and just in the central Ohio, Delaware, just been an advocate for fathers. As long as you have that desire to be a father, that go ahead, that rings his bell, and he's ready to rock and roll and walk right alongside with you to help you get accomplished what you want to get accomplished as far as fatherhood. So I'm excited to introduce, and he's also the case manager with Starts Within organization. You know, exciting times. Glenn Harris.
little script and everything here, but I don't really want to use a script. I want to get to know you guys a little bit and give you what's most beneficial to you. So if you can tell me just a little bit about yourself, what made you come in today?
Cops came in, took my kids away that I've had for years. No apparent reason.
Okay.
And
how old are the children?
I got an 8-year-old, 7-year-old, 6-year-old.
How long ago did this happen?
About a month ago.
A month ago. Okay. Up until that point, how have you felt about your parenting journey? Do you feel like you've been pretty successful? Have you had frustrations? Have you had obstacles, barriers?
Oh, as a father, you always have obstacles. But,
Right.
But everything was pretty good. It was real good, and it's actually a really long story though.
And we don't have to tell all your personal business here, but I guess whatever you feel comfortable sharing that isn't going too far.
2 of the kids aren't mine. One's mine, blood. I cut the cord from all. I'm dead.
Absolutely.
Right.
Their mom did not care about him at all. I took them in, of course. I love them all, and I've had them for years. I've had them
since 2015.
2015, I got granted them from Children's Services.
Wow. Okay, so you got actual legal custody.
Well, just a safety plan.
Okay.
So a year and a half later, Children's Services said, which is Richland County Children's Services, said they don't feel that the mother will do anything to get them back or anything. So as far as they're concerned, live your life. Well, now it's been about 6 years since then, almost 6 years, and cops come kick my door in, take me to jail, and get me for interfering with custody and rip all 3 kids out of my home. They put them in her home, and 2 weeks into it, my 6-year-old got bit by a dog. There's a big old scar down his face now. There's been numerous domestic violences, all that, and they still will not give me my kids back.
Let's make sure we get you enrolled in the program. I think there's some things that we can do at case management. We've got some relationships with Children's Services. I think that starting with what justification they have for coming and taking their kids, there's got to be some sort of trail, some paperwork, something that says, to warrant that. And I would think some sort of judge would have to give an order to do something like that. In my personal opinion, I don't know, unless she went down and filed some sort of emergency custody or. I don't know, but let's look at your paperwork. Let's see what's going on, and we'll try to get you as much information as possible. Tell me your name again.
Max.
Max. Okay. How you gentlemen doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Come on in. How about you, sir? I know we met a little bit yesterday, but tell me your name again and tell me briefly. How you guys doing today?
All right.
Good. We're just doing introductions. Tell me your name and tell me what brought you guys in today.
My name is Jamarcus O'Neal, and I heard about this fella from reading his book when I was incarcerated.
Okay. Awesome. Do you have any children?
I had 2.
How?
3 and 1.
3 and 1? Okay. Awesome. How about you, sir?
My name Will. I listened to him while I was incarcerated, and my fellow barber who work in the shop, I work in the shop with, signed me up, so he said,
Excellent.
I definitely can support.
And do you have children?
No,
No children? All right. Step kids?
they grown.
They grown, okay.
Grown.
all right.
Give him
Nieces
a-
and nephews though, right?
Yeah, definitely got, yeah.
Give him a few months. He gonna have some kids. Give him a few more months. I guarantee he gonna have some
I know
kids.
we met a few days ago. Tell me your name again, sir. What brought you in today?
James Owens, met you guys the other day. Really liked what you guys were talking about. Very interested in what we're here for.
Absolutely. And Teka, you want to introduce yourself, ma'am?
I'm Teka Thompson. I work with Carlos at the Department of Youth Services and some programming that we're doing with young incarcerated fathers. Work with Glenn on another project. Been working with Ebony on this project, and I just really support the work that Carlos is doing. I'm from Mansfield. When I found out he had got some grants up here, I was super excited. was down for the cause, whatever I could do to, help, get them into this community.
Absolutely. She's a little humble. She says, I'm just Tekka, but Tekka wears many hats. Like I said, it was kind of funny. I was having a conversation with Carlos one day, and he goes, yeah, and I talked to Tekka, and Tekka, I'm like, whoa, Tekka who? Tekka Thompson? He was like, yeah. So I'm like, man, I know Tekka, but it's funny when you get into this working in the community, you see a lot of the same faces that, are very near and dear to the community and love working here. A little bit. I had my first son when I was 18 years old. He's 26 now. I've got 2 more boys, and I've got a young daughter. So my kids are 26, 16, and 6. So I've had a very strange parenting journey, I would say. With my oldest son, I had all the typical frustrations we typically see in our urban communities. Having a child out of wedlock, having the baby mama drama. There was a point in time where I was doing pretty well off when I was young, 21, 22. I was a store manager for an athletic shoe store back in Columbus. When that store went out of business, I had a hard time finding another job making that same kind of money. So I decided to go to college. Here I am, 22 years old, been out of high school for 4 years. I said, you know what, I'm going to go to college. So I called up child support. I said, hey, I'm getting ready to go to school full time, not working full time anymore. I'm not going to be able to pay the $600 a month. Can we negotiate, get this down a little bit? Anybody want to guess what child support told me?
No.
They said, you got a choice. You can either work or go to school, but whatever you don't pay will be right here in the books and you'll pay it sooner or later. Really? That's the best answer you got for me. Obviously, I'm pretty frustrated because not only if I make this decision to go to school, not only am I in debt based on school loans, now you're telling me I'm in debt because of child support too. So that's the decision I had to make. At the end of the day, I knew it would benefit me. I knew it would benefit my child. I went ahead and made that decision anyway. No, I couldn't pay $600 a month. Maybe it was $100 this month, maybe $200 the next month. By the time I got to my senior year, I'm $6,000 behind in arrears. Get a letter in the mail that says I gotta go to court for contempt. I'm like, really? Like, I'm busting my butt up here at school, playing football, working part-time, and y'all telling me I gotta come to court? My son lives with me on the weekends, in college, in a dorm, you know what I'm saying? Go to court, judge finds me guilty, tells me I gotta do 30 days. You tripping, right? Like, I got class. He says, well, we're gonna make it easy for you. You just come turn yourself in for the next 10 weekends, so every Friday at 6 o'clock, I gotta go check myself in, and then I get out every Sunday at 6 for 10 straight weeks. Now, obviously, that crushed me. Like, I ain't never been in jail. When I do go to jail, it's gonna be for child support, like, really, and I take care of my kids. It was very frustrating. I won't lie, it helped because I gotta take my school books to help me get caught up on some stuff that I need to get caught up on, but it was for every weekend for 10 weeks. Long story short, after the college process, I got an opportunity with the Columbus Urban League to do some volunteering. Was doing some mentoring, and then finally got an opportunity to kind of create some of my own programming. The first thing I came up with was, I need to do some fatherhood programming because my experience wasn't all that great, and I hear the frustrations of my community. How can we fix this? So I got the blessing from the mayor of Columbus, Mayor Coleman, gave me some money to start the program. I started reading up on some father programs across the country to see what I could do. I pick up the phone and I call Franklin County Child Support because I need a partner. I need to say, hey, I need to sit down and talk. I've got this program I want to start, and I want to see how we can work together. Susan says, oh yeah, come on that Friday. We'll have lunch. We'll sit down. We'll have a conversation. Susan luckily happened to be pretty new to the job. She had only been on the job about nine months. And she said to me, I don't like the way your community looks at child support. They look at like we're the evil, entity, and we want to work back closely with you. So in a joking kind of way, I said, well, if you really want to work with us and you really care about us, why don't you take all them wanted posters down in the lobby? Because there ain't nobody coming down here, you got all them wanted posters. And I'm kind of being, kind of jokingly, just kind of see how she reacts to that. She picks up the phone, calls down to the lobby. She says, take down all the wanted posters. Click. What else can we do? I was like, oh, hey, we about to talk now. We can get some business done. And I tell you, me and Susan Brown are very close to this day. I've introduced him to Carlos. Carlos works with Susan Brown all the time. And that opened my eyes to the potential. I think the timing was right for us to do some of this programming. So when we talk about barriers to fatherhood, I'm very aware of a lot of those barriers. So we're going to talk about a little bit of those today. first thing I kind of want to ask you guys before we go into some of these barriers and things like this, is there a difference between motherly and fatherly love, or is it the same thing? I'm just kind of curious. What do you guys think?
Same thing.
Same.
It's the same?
It's
There's a
different.
difference.
Different?
Big difference.
Big difference? How about you?
What's the
It is a difference? It is? Somebody,
Don't
anybody
change your answers now.
want to articulate that? What makes you think it's different? Like, explain that to me.
I mean, first of all, me as a father, I feel like it's easier raising girls than boys, so your relationship kind of is that way on top. You know what I'm saying? You got your daddy's girls and your mama's boys.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You think it's easier to raise girls? I'm telling you, man, my daughter, she just like, she runs the show. And it's like, man, I'll be looking at her like, you ain't listening to me? Right? Like,
Never
my,
had enough love with her.
I kind of agree with you, though, because, like, you know, I got 3 boys, but with my daughter, it's a new experience. With my boys, have always been raised to be independent. Like, for example, if I want to walk my son to school or something, he's like, nah, Dad, why don't you, fall back or something? I'm cool. But my daughter, oh, nah, Dad, yeah, come on, I'm on your shoulders, and you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, I might agree with you a little bit. How about down here? You guys
shit.
said it was the same. Tell me a little about that.
Well, for the most part, me as a father, I've been doing it as a single dad of 3 boys. So
Absolutely.
I mean,
And I commend you on that, too. I commend you. That's hard.
absolutely.
And then my mom walked out and just didn't care, and
Absolutely.
then that was that. And so,
And I just want to make sure everybody's heard this. 2 of those 3 kids are not biologically his, so he's going above and beyond. I don't know if y'all
No
caught
doubt,
that, so
man.
again, go
It's
ahead.
good stuff.
well, so I mean, I guess it depends on the parent.
Absolutely.
You should love them unconditionally, regardless.
Absolutely. Now, down here, I heard a little bit there's a difference. Tell me, I see you smiling. What's the difference?
I mean, I'll raise them both now. So.
Okay.
My son, he more mama's boy. My daughter,
Daddy's girl.
yeah, she wants so she always get excited when she see me and happy. So, then not to take note for my son, but my daughter, she's like, ooh, Dad.
Okay.
Definitely a difference. So I cannot compare to her mother. If her mom walked in the room with mom, both of them love their moms.
I think what it is, what it comes down to in our society, mom is typically looked at as the nurturer, and dad is typically the disciplinarian and the breadwinner. It's typically the road in our society. How? Go ahead. Absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ladies. Go ahead.
I think that the way you asked the question, I think that both parents love the children equally. So the amount of love is the same, but the relationships are different. Like each
Right.
parent loves their child equally, and even the way they love their children may look different, but they still love them equally. But the relationships are different and complicated, right?
I think that one thing too, I can just remember football when my oldest son, he was playing football and he went through that line, when you go through that line and they got to collide with each other, right? The 2 got to collide, 2 people got to collide. And I remember he got hit so hard because he was trying to tiptoe and he was down on the ground. And I just stood there like, brother, you got to do what you got to do, whereas I done seen mothers be like, man, hold up. They tried to go at the person who did it. Yeah, like mothers be like, hold up, you ain't gonna do that to my baby. Hold up, you ain't gonna hit him like that.
Right. So when we talk about motherly and fatherly love, there is a difference, and I'm gonna try to illustrate that difference to you. And I'm gonna ladies and the mothers and the fathers in the room will alternate here. Say you've got a young kid, 5 or 6 years old, in their backseat of the car, and they're struggling, can't really get the seatbelt to go on. They're trying to figure it out. Mom turns around, sees the kid struggling to get that seatbelt on. Moms, what are you gonna do?
I don't have a traditional answer. I would not a traditional mom. I'm like, it
You gonna have
depends
one?
on if it's my son or my daughter.
I feel like
It depends if it was your son or your daughter.
No. Yes.
So
My
if it was your
son.
daughter,
It's my son. Boy, put the seatbelt on. What's wrong
It is.
with you?
If it was your daughter.
Girl, we're gonna put that seatbelt on. You're not helping regardless.
no.
But I feel like if my daughter really, really was struggling with it, I feel like I would eventually, say, here, let me help you, because I was a single parent mom. I'd be like, y'all gotta do this stuff on your own. So I had, was fall back. But I probably reach out to help my daughter more than my son, but I'll be really more strict on my son. I'm like, boy, you better put your seatbelt on.
Okay.
There's no free lunches around here.
How about you? I'm just curious. What would you do? How would you react to that?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I really don't know. I I don't know. I have 2 boys and a girl, so I don't know. You have a different relationship with each child, so
Depending on the level of individual.
yeah, so you know, like, I mean, I might not had to have helped my oldest son, but I might have had to have helped my youngest son,
Absolutely.
you know? And
Absolutely.
my daughter, it's hard to tell. I might not have to help her at all, and she might have got it, or she might not have. She just...
Typically, the answer we most likely get from women is they want to make sure to help their child through that process. They typically want to help.
You should have started with Evan.
I just feel like there's so much going on. I feel like it's easier for me to just do it and go.
You just do it again. All right.
Especially when you're good.
So let me ask this question to the guy. Same scenario. You see your son, he's in the back seat with that seatbelt, struggling to get that seatbelt on. What you guys gonna do?
I probably show him how to do it. Let me help you, buddy.
Oh, that's
I mean,
Right.
when my kids do it nowadays, I just stop the car and we ain't moving until you buckle it.
Okay.
But
Right,
they
right.
know how to do it now, so.
Okay. How about you?
You can pull it off until all the seatbelts is on.
Absolutely. But he's struggling, so what you gonna do? Huh?
Oh. It's gonna be like, seatbelt on.
But you're not gonna do it for him.
Yeah, he is.
No, I'm not gonna do it for him.
And that's the point I'm getting at.
If they're
Typically,
struggling around
men aren't going to do it for you. They're going to either coach you through it,
Right.
teach you how to do it, motivate you to do it, but the last thing you want to do is do it for you. Whereas typically, if you said, Mom, I just want to help you because I want to get and go. Okay? So that's one difference. Let me get another scenario for you. Same kid. You're at a park. That kid is on a swing. That swing is going higher, higher, faster and faster. Ladies, what you gonna say? That swing getting up there, he getting real high.
Better stop before you fall down.
Absolutely. Ladies, stop. Be careful, right?
Yeah.
Fellas, what we gonna say?
If you fall, you know I ain't gonna help you up.
Exactly. What'd you say?
Don't learn.
They'll learn. What'd you say? So we're more willing to allow, you know what I mean, to bump their head a little bit. Let them learn. Let them explore. Let them find their
Absolutely.
So there's the kind of the distinct difference between motherly and fatherly love, and here's what it comes down to. Typically, mothers want to protect their children from anything in the world that's going to cause them harm. I want to protect them, make sure my kid is safe in this world. Dad's perspective is typically, I'm going to prepare my child for this world to make sure that this world can't hurt him. See, it's still the same goal. We don't want our children hurt. It's just a different perspective how we go about it. One of the things that unfortunately happens in our society, in 1960, the average divorce rate was only like 14%. And 90, I think it was 98 the last time I saw the data, it had more than tripled. So we see a high amount of divorce rates in our community. And what also has spiked is what we call out of wedlock births, having children outside of marriage. In the state of Ohio, we have what we call Ohio Revised Code 4109. And, 052, and this is what it says. I want you guys to listen to this. This is on the law books, part of Ohio Revised Code. An unmarried female who gives birth to a child is the sole residential parent and legal custodian of the child until a court of competent jurisdiction issues an order designating another person as the residential parent or legal custodian. You guys follow that? Let me ask this question. What did it say about dad?
What is a dad?
Screw the dad, pretty much.
What is a dad?
It said nothing.
Right,
It said
nothing, not a
about
thing.
that. This is what the law says. If you have a child and you're not married, she has all the rights. You have none. That's what the law says. So we want to make sure we educate guys to go through the process to get their legal custody rights. And the first thing I want to dispel is what's called a paternity affidavit. I want to make sure you guys have one of these. When you guys go to the hospital, when you guys had your children, you guys will remember there's a hospital social worker who comes into the room. Dad is all excited, just had this baby, and he says, would you like to sign the documentation for your child? So you get to signing all these paperwork, right? Well, one of the papers that you're signing is this paternity affidavit. And I want to point out a couple key things here. Would you read that second sentence for me? Right there.
Say, if a man voluntarily acknowledges a parent and child relationship by signing an acknowledgement of paternal affidavit, hereafter paternity affidavit, he assumes the parental duty of the support which may be enforced through a child support court.
Absolutely. So you're at the hospital, you're signing a birth certificate. So make sure you guys know this. Birth certificate is not a legal document. It's only a public record. You signing the birth certificate does not legally make you dad. It does not give you any rights. This paper that sits behind the birth certificate is the paternity affidavit. It also gives you no rights. Let me rephrase it. I take that back. It gives you one right. It gives you the right to pay child support. That's it. So you're sitting at the hospital, you're signing all this paperwork, and already you've given permission for child support to start. Oftentimes what I see are men who are conflicted. They're not sure. But they also know that if I turn and say, like, can you get a DNA test? Then that's going to cause some problems too. So you're stuck in a situation where let me just go ahead and sign this, let me calm down, and so that now we don't have any dramas or issues. But what I hate seeing, and I get guys that call me all the time, kid's 13 years old, and they're like, man, I don't even know if the kid is mine, but I signed a paternity affidavit. And I'm like, and you waited 13 years to find out? Like, is that fair to the kid? Now, what if you come back and it's not yours? Now that kid has spent 13 years thinking, this is my dad, and now you're just going to turn your back on that. So I really hate that, so that's why I encourage the community, don't sign the document. If you have any question, if you have any doubt, go take your DNA test. That way, you start off from the beginning with the love that child needs versus you holding back because you're unsure. So make sure you guys spread that information about the paternity affidavit.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
So the birth certificate, they sign the birth certificate and the paternity, and it makes you the father. You gotta sign both of them?
This establishes paternity. If you sign this, you have established paternity. But once you have established paternity, that still gives you no access to the child. It does not give you parenting rights. It does not give you access to medical and school records. It doesn't give you any of the privileges of a parent, except paying child support.
Okay.
That's it.
Wow. Yeah, it is.
It is. It's kind of, and that's why I make sure I educate people, because you have to go through a process in order to get that right. So with that being said, I want to make sure you guys see this. There are essentially 4 levels of custody. I want to make sure you guys see this too. At the very top, obviously, is full custody. Typically, this is what mom has. If you're married, you're automatically share custody anytime you have children when you're married. All right? The next step down from here is what we used to hear a lot called joint custody. I want to make sure you guys know joint custody only exists if you were married to mom. Okay? If you weren't married, your option is what's called shared parenting. Now, I hear guys all the time say, I want to get a shared parenting plan, I want to get a shared parenting plan. Shared parenting is exactly what it says. You and mom share the decision-making responsibility when it pertains to that child. What schools you're going to go to, what doctor you're going to go to. You cannot walk into a courtroom and ask for shared parenting, and y'all can't even get along. The judge is setting you up for failure if he gives you a shared parenting plan and you guys can't even agree in the courtroom. Can't do it. I say all that to say that I make sure guys understand this. Sometimes it's a difficult pill to swallow. The better relationship you have with the mother of your child, the better relationship you will have with your child. I guarantee you. Let me give you an example of that. My oldest son, for the first 10 years of his life, me and mom like this, always arguing, always bickering, there's always something going on. At some point, I just got tired of it. I matured a little bit, so I'm going to stop feeding into it. I finally figured out, if I keep fighting fire with fire, all I'm going to do is get a bigger fire. Finally figured that out. So I said, I'm going to make amends, I'm going to make peace, go above and beyond so that we can have a relationship. Very unique thing happened. Prior to that, I got very to little no information about my child. She wasn't calling me to tell me anything. because most of those conversations were confrontational. But once we got to a point where we had a relationship, hey, guess what your son done? He came home today with a report card. He had boom, 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 boom. You want to go out to dinner Friday with him or something? Or it's a phone call. Hey, this is Rick, your baby mom's boyfriend. Your son did XYZ, and before I did XYZ, I wanted to call and get your input. I'm getting more information about my child because I have a better relationship with my child's mother. Yesterday we were in here and somebody asked a question. Well, if she calls down to child support, can she just make child support go up? Technically, kind of, sort of, it kind of works that way. But again, the better relationship you have with the mother of your child, the less you have to deal with that baggage. Keep that in mind. I tell guys all the time. And they're like, oh no, I can't, man. I can't deal with her. I can't do all this. Well, I mean, if you want to keep that stress, then keep up with that attitude. You might have to go a little bit above and beyond. And then I heard somebody say, well, I'm not kissing her ass. I don't really consider it that, because at the end of the day, if you're getting what you want out of the situation, a better relationship with your child, I don't know, I think it's a stretch.
Some people do it at work, though. I mean, to get that check.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Same scenario. Same scenario. Thank you for making that point. Absolutely. Same scenario. Let's see, we talked about, let me finish out the levels of custody. I didn't finish here. So we stopped at joint and shared custody. The next step down here is what they call, you have a parenting plan in place. Some people like to use the term visitation. I will tell you, I hate the term visitation. Why? I don't visit my kids. I spend time with them. They come spend the night for the weekend or whatever, but I don't visit my kids. I think that's just a poor choice of words. We share parenting, we have visiting time, so I like to use the phrase parenting time. And then the last step is just basic paternity. Like I said, when all you have is a paternity, meaning you signed the affidavit, you took a DNA test, you still don't have any rights until, like that paper said, until you go to court and those rights are assigned. Yes, sir.
Now, have you ever called it like Rule 24? Heard it called
Rule 22? Yeah. Well, in Franklin County is 22. Here, I think it's 24. Yes. Okay. And all that is basically it's a predetermined scheduling plan for those that can't make agreements. So, say if you and mom can't agree on some parenting plan, they say, look, we're just gonna give you standard Rule 24, which is every other weekend you get them. You get every other holiday. You get one day out of the week after 6 o'clock. Absolutely. But what I tell guys all the time is that's just a standard. You can always deviate from that. You can get more, you can get less. So, for example, one of the things that the rule says is that the dad can pick one day out of the week and they get that kid from 6 to 8. To me, I thought that was kind of silly to try to pick up a kid for 2 hours, especially when they live on the opposite side of town. I said, so I tell you what, I'm going to pick them up at 6 on Friday, and instead of bringing them home Sunday night at 6, I'm just going to keep them another night, and I'm going to take them to school Monday morning. That way I get an opportunity to interact with the school. I know the school teachers, they know me, blah, blah, blah. We're not doing that middle of the week stuff. I got my extra night that Sunday night. You can always be creative in how that works. And if you have, even if mom disagrees, if you have compelling reasons for those modifications, the judge will typically slant that way, especially if it's for the benefit of the child. The main thing is just going into the courtroom, having some documentation, having some reasons for why you're asking for this adjustment. I would also say something about being, how should I say, be creative in your parenting journey. Be creative in your parenting journey, and I'll tell you what this means. There was a point in time when my son got into his teenage years, 14, 15, 16, it was a lot harder to get him to come for his scheduled weekends. He might have a football game, he might want to go do something with his friends, and I don't want to infringe upon that. You cool, son, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I'll come to the football game, I'll holler at you there, come see you there. And as that started getting more and more as he got older, I had to get creative. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Growing up, me and the kids were always huge into video games, Xbox, things like that. So now instead of that weekend time, maybe we're just spending the weekend on Xbox Live. I had to teach myself how to play Fortnite so that my 16-year-old can spend that extra time with me, you know what I mean? So we can have that dialogue. But I tell you the unique thing about it, not only am I building that relationship with him, but I'm building a relationship with his friends. I hear what they're talking about. I hear what they're doing. I'll jump on my son and be like, hey, hold up, y'all, dad on, so make sure y'all calm it down. I'm like, nah, don't be giving no disclaimers when I jump on. I want to see what's going on. But that's getting creative. Creative ways to maintain that relationship, get the communication and information that you really want to be part of that communication. Today is really meant to be a teaser for you guys, give you guys some of this basic information, but we really want you to leave here and kind of share some of this information. We do a lot more in-depth things. We've already talked about your particular situation. Let's work with Children's Services. Let's dig into the case, get some specifics there, see how we can help you out. If it's child support, we want to make sure we're working with guys, making sure they have the most fair and equitable child support order we can actually get. We've seen child support be a detriment in the urban communities. We don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that you guys can navigate the court systems. If they need help, seeing their kids or, getting a visitation plan, we want to be that avenue for you guys. Because when I was going through it, what any doors for me to knock on? Call an attorney, they want $1,500. Bruh, if I had $1,500, I wouldn't be calling you. You know what I mean? That probably solved half my problems. So we want to be that avenue for you. We want to be that vehicle for you. I'll make sure before everybody leaves, you got my card, my personal number. Share the information, and we definitely want to kind of help the community out and navigate some of these issues and some of these barriers. All right? Any questions? Any thoughts? No? I'm going to stop there.
All right.
Mr. Carlos?
Appreciate you, G. Valuable information, just with the shared parenting plan, and also the establishing of paternity, understanding this right here. And Will, I just want, because you coming you about to get into the game, man. Right? This is important. This is the paternity affidavit. Well, not this, but the paternity affidavit. It's so important because when you do sign that, then that takes you out of the running to get a free DNA test by child support. So you don't, I just always encourage fathers to just say, man, just go ahead and get that DNA test because it takes everything out the picture, because sometimes I've seen this happen in situations. My brother, he had it happen with him, that him and his child's mother got into it, and then the child's mother say, that ain't your son anyway, just to mess with him, right? The son looked like him and everything, but she says it because she knows that he just signed the paternity affidavit. She knows that he didn't really take the DNA test, so that's what she does, just to mess with his head, right? And then, of course, he's like, man, I don't know, man, I do got a brother look like me too, like maybe she could have kept it in the family, who knows, right? But when you take that DNA test, guess what? It knocks all of that out the picture, right? So, because the mom, she automatically knows that that's her child. Why? Because she carries that child. So how can the father have that same type of knowledge?
I don't never had nobody question me.
No, it's not questioning. That's what I'm saying. It's not questioning. It's just protecting everybody who's involved. It's protecting the child, it's protecting the mother, it's protecting the father. When you got that paperwork, it's like, man, I tell my children, I got paperwork on all you jokers, right? But that's important though, because you don't even want somebody to even play games. I've seen situations where somebody have came down the line and said, that's my child, right? And saying that, right? Just to play. Because they used to mess with the lady or whatever, and then they'll come back and say, man, that child, that oldest child you got, is really mine and it's not his. And she like, man, hold up, no it ain't, But if you have that DNA test, guess what? It knocks all of that stuff out the water. So I always encourage to do that. The legalities of fatherhood is definitely important. It starts your parenting off in the right way. It's not putting nothing against nobody. And that's the message that I try to get across, is that it's not saying that, Mom, you were sleeping around. It's just saying that it just protects everybody in the long run, which is important, right? So we're going to keep this train moving right along, fighting.
Before the train moves, just really quickly, because that was a really good point. You slipped it in there, is that if you sign that paper, then you can't get a free DNA test.
Right.
Because if you say I want a DNA test, the test is going to be free for you through
child support. Absolutely.
Right? But if you do sign it, you still can get a DNA test, right? There's a time frame and it costs money, right?
Right, absolutely. And then another thing too, I hear a lot of times people be like, man, well, if I go down there and I get a free DNA test by child support, I'm going to be placed on child support. Again, not true. The way that you get placed on child support is if the mother is getting checks, cash assistance from the welfare office. But if she is just getting food stamps and health insurance, you still will not be required, she will not be required to put you on child support. So I've seen a lot of fathers say, man, yeah, they made her put me on child support. And I'll be like, no, they didn't, my good brother. She actually went down here and said, put this brother on child support, right? But she didn't get made to put you on child support. See, I just want to uncover some truth. I know, my good sister right there, like, man, brother, you gonna sit up there and tell these truths? Don't tell. Like, I'm just saying, but I just want to let it be known, right? It's not no forced issue, right? I'm just letting you know. She actually said, I need this brother on child support. And she comes back to you and say, you know they done put me on, they done make me put you on child support. I ain't want to do it, but they made me. You know how the people is, right? It's like, no, child support, right? Like child support. So, yeah, so I just want y'all to take that in consideration, but I always encourage, like I said, man, just go ahead and just say, man, hey, let me get that free DNA test if you are just having a child, and then you don't want to go, because one thing Glenn said is that once they get older, and I remember you told me that before too, you said, Carlos, man, I knew this one father, he was, the child was like 16 or whatever, and he told the judge, man, I've been paying child support for 16 years, and I just found out that I'm not the father. I took the DNA test, and then the judge said, man, well, go ahead and continue to pay for child support until he looked like you, right? Because it's like because you've been paying for this long, and you didn't go ahead and challenge it in the beginning. So now you can't wait until he's 16 and then say, you know what, I'm not going to continue. 16 years later, like, that's on you. You got to go ahead and walk this thing on out now. That's your child, because you didn't contest it in the beginning, even though the child support would come back, and I mean, not the child support, but the paternity affidavit would come back and say, you know, not the paternity, but the DNA come back and say you're not the father. You still be liable, right?
Yeah, and I wanted to add that too. I said oftentimes we look and feel like, you know, child support is all bad, but I definitely want to say child support has its benefits. One benefit, actually I'll give you two. When my oldest son, when he was youngest, initially for the first 2 or 3 years, we did it without the child support. But I tell you, every other day, I need 50 for this, I need 20 for this, I need 40 for that. And it was like, man, you are down to be like, right. You know what, I'm going to the child support, because that way I pay him one bill a month, and you know what I'm saying, you can quit, you know, just digging in my pocket. I tell you another thing, my middle son, the one who's 16, 2 years ago, his mom got married, and they decided they wanted to move to Baltimore, Maryland. I'm like, nah, we're not about to just gonna take my son and move. No, we got a visitation plan. I have my kids, you know, on a regular basis. I pay child support. So she has to file a motion with the court to get permission to move anything further than 90 miles away. She can move within a 90-mile radius at free range, but anything outside of that, she has to go back to court. Judge looked at me and said, do you contest that? And I'm like, I absolutely do. My son is 14. He's got 4 more years left. She can wait till after he graduates, and then I don't care where they go. But I want my son here through high school, the most important years, high school football. I want to be able to see that, Judge. And I said, look, he looked at child support records. She's like, ma'am, I mean, it looks like he's heavily involved in the kid's life. I mean, are you sure you want to take him away from the father? Ultimately, the judge says, you know what, sir, if you got a new job in Maryland, you want to move, go ahead and move. Y'all might have to do a long distance marriage or something for a couple years, but I can't grant this child leaving his father. So that was another benefit of being a part of that child support system, having that documentation, say, look, I've been here from day one. So there are benefits.
Absolutely. And just always stay in communication. You know, I work down at child support too as well. They contract me to work with the fathers right before they get their paternity established. So now I'm working with the fathers to get them enrolled into a program so that they can be stood up on their feet, so that they can be effective inside of their children's lives. You know, so I'm always pushing for, you know, the shared parenting plan, parenting time orders, making sure that you have access to your children. So then that's my role down there in child support. I just didn't wiggle myself into all of the systems. See, because that's where I gotta be. I gotta get on the inside. The only way that we can change anything is if we get on the the inside. So I got a knack for that. So I'm down there and I'm recruiting for a program at Franklin County Children's Services, child support agency. And one thing that I see is that fathers don't come down for their paternity test. So then they'll get that paternity test in the mail. Somebody will say, hey, this is your child. You need to take a DNA test. And then I've seen men, like by the boatloads, just ignore those notices, right? It's only a 30%. It's only 30% of the fathers who get those notifications. They come down and answer the call and take that swab, take that DNA test. Now, and this is what I hear from fathers all the time. They say, man, hey, if I don't come down, they can't catch me, you know. And I ain't about to be on no child support, because the only reason why they're getting that DNA test is because the mom is trying to establish a child support order on that child, and they need to establish paternity because nobody was there to sign the paternity affidavit. So now she wants to continue to either get benefits, or she just wants, you know, a little bit more money from the father. So what she's saying is that, man, you know what, I gotta first establish paternity in order to be able to establish a child support order. So what happens is that, you know, the father is saying, man, I know she wants me to come down there so she can go ahead and start this child support case on me, right? So then the father says, I ain't going down there. Forget that. Catch me if you can, like the gingerbread man, right? Like, I'm telling you, I bet you ain't gonna catch me, you know. And they really be serious and committed to the run, right? They like, man, you gonna have to chase. I'm gonna give y'all a chase, right? Y'all ain't catching me, right? What happens is this, is that after a few times it goes into the court. And then the court will say you are the dad, right? Without taking no DNA test. So you don't even need to take the DNA test to be dad. If you don't go down there and take it, what is happening is that fathers are automatically being named the father. Now this is when it gets real tricky, because once they get named the father, guess what? Now it's just the mother. Now it's just the mother, the child support agency, and that child. And they are all in one room, and they saying, what is that order going to be on the father? Let's go ahead and make it this, right? So now your order is getting established without your involvement. So then now when you get in the mail, you got to pay, man, a stack a week. 1,000 a week in child support. I'm just saying, like, just imagine that. You got to pay 1,000 a week in child support, and you like, hold up, how the heck I got to pay 1,000 a week in child support? Man, I ain't even, man, built like that, man. I can't do that. Man, there's no way that I'm going to be able to make it. Well, that number was determined without your involvement. So anything that you are not involved in, it's going to be worse. It's better when we get involved. So what I see a lot of times is fathers don't get involved, and you got to pay the price for not getting involved, right? It's going to be a price to pay, right? So now what I've seen is that now when that child support order gets established, then the father comes down there and say, hold up, man, this stuff is crazy, man. I didn't even know if that was my kid or not, for real, you know, and now I got to pay this much money, you know, this is crazy. You know, because now they have either been picked up, they in jail or whatever, because they haven't been paying child support. Their license have got, I used to tell child support, like, man, y'all like the new mob, man. Like, y'all just move, like, in silence. It's just, y'all just come, because I didn't know when I had first got released from prison. I didn't know how to interact with child support. I just thought that they was going to holler at me. And because I thought that, guess what? They hollered at me.
Yeah, that's
in a real way, right? They like, let me get those license things. They wiped out my bank account. Let me take that. I'm charging things at one time, and there was nothing in my bank account. Remember when I was looking at that dang on computer when I was in the red? I'm like, I'm working at A to Z, and I'm like, man, this stuff is crazy. Man, I'm working hard. I got my son, and I ain't got no money. They done took all my money out of my account, because they said that I was delinquent and I wasn't paying my child support. But I wasn't communicating with them. I thought that they was gonna holler at me. And they just started to move in on me. They didn't holler at me, they moved in on me. So, right. They like the new mob. That's what I told them. That was when it was the Fade 5, And I told him, I said, man, I'd have made one of y'all the Fave 5. I'd have made child support the Fave 5. When you can have people in the Fave 5 to protect your minutes. Right, T-Mobile, you had the Fave 5 to protect your minutes. Kid you not. I had child support as my Fave 5, and I didn't have no picture on them or nothing. I told y'all just like the black hole, man. I was like, y'all ain't got no picture. Y'all just a shadow. I was like, man, y'all ain't playing, man. You know, I said, man, I talk to y'all so much. Like, y'all leaning on my minutes, you know. I say, man, I'm gonna put y'all in the Fave 5, because I was on the phone with them after they started to move on me. I was on the phone with them consistently, like, man, what's up, man? I was pillow talking. I was on the phone with him consistently, right? Because I was like, man, right, man, that's what I said. I'm like, and then I couldn't get no rhythm with them. I went to the child's mother. I said, man, they just took all my money. Like, I felt like the brother on Debo, like, man, they took all my money, man. You know they just sent you a check. Can you just give me half of it? You know, and she looked at me, she said, man, that puppy came just in time, man. I'm about to spend it all. I'm about to pay it on the bill. I'm like, that's cold-blooded, man. She's like, well, go ahead and walk off, man. I said, what, walk off? Like, come on. Can we talk? She's like, no, go walk off. I said, that's cold-blooded. But yeah, so just stay in contact with child support. It will do you well. Just get in front of it. Don't let things get in front of you, because when they get in front of you, I'm telling you, you bound to get dragged, and it's never good to be dragged. I want to walk to where I got to get to, right? I'd rather walk, because if I'm walking, then that means I'm getting to my destination. If I'm getting dragged, that means that people go just plop me up and put me where, you know, they tired of dragging me to. And it might be in a desert. It might be in an undesirable place, right? So the chances of it being in a place that I like is less likely if I was to walk to it. So I advise everybody, always get in front of this situation, get in front of your fatherhood, get in front of it, right? Don't let it get in front of you, right? So then that's a good thing. But legalities of fatherhood, I can go into that for a while, you know, just good stuff. So this next session, and we're gonna keep this train moving. Is it cool to keep it moving?
I'm sorry.
All right, cool. All right. We're gonna keep this train moving. And the next session we got coming up, we got Ebony Taylor, and she is a graduate of Columbus City Schools. She also went to the Ohio State University. She's also the co-founder of Starts Within organization. So she was in it at the beginning, you know, and helped put everything together, just doing the groundwork, you know, to building the Starts Within organization so we can go inside of the prisons and reduce the recidivism rate and implement programming, you know. And she's also the mother of our 11-year-old child. So she is going to be talking about the interactions between parent and child. Ebony Taylor.
Thank you, Carlos.
You're welcome.
I'm Ebony, and every morning when I get up, I take like 5-10 minutes. I got a backyard. I love it back there full of trees and birds. But I just reflect on like myself as a tree, and then the fruits of my life. And Carlos kind of talked about some of those, but I wanted to give you a little bit more detail about those speaking points. So I am a graduate of Columbus Public Schools. I know we're in Mansfield, but it's the same in Columbus as it is here. It wasn't a private school. I didn't grow up in a gated community. I did go to Ohio State, and I had no focus. I just wandered for 2 years, and I didn't even finish. I am the business administrator for Starts Within. So Carlos and I actually met Carlos. I have a son, and then he has a son, and we have a son together. So I was a football mom, he was a football dad. So that's how we met and we came together. But just on my own, just without Carlos, I have 2 sons. And so being a part of the Starts Within organization, they'll never be incarcerated for the silly decisions that they make. And that's really important to me. So Carlos and I, we were married. I mean, he's a great father, but husband is like, But with my son, like we're co-parenting, and I'm just excited. I'll always be a part of the movement because of the work that it's doing. And then lastly, the reason I feel like I can stand here and talk to you guys is because I do have two sons. One of them is 21 and the other one is 11. And I have influence over my children. We talk all the time. They listen to me. It's really nice sometimes to see the stuff that I've told them to do in action and stuff. But I can just explain to you how I got there, because I think it's really important that we are the ones that are whispering in their ear. There's so much going on, the media, the issues in the world, the injustices, the pandemic. So we really have to be there to help them, like, understand some of this stuff. I don't even understand myself, but we really can have influence over our babies. So I want to tell you a quick story. My 21-year-old, he has a girlfriend. Her name is Jennifer. She comes over every day, and one day when she came over, she pulled up a chair and she asked if we could talk. And of course, the reason she came to me is my son told her, and she's actually been a part of some of the conversations that we've had in my house, but he told her how easy it was to talk to me. My first question was like, why don't you go to your father? I met him, he's wonderful. And she says he tries to scare her a lot. He talks to her and he tries to get her to make decisions out of fear. So she's 19, she just moved out, and he tells her that she's gonna fail. Because honestly, he really didn't want her to leave. But that's not the way that we should talk to him. So she wanted to talk to me. And so that's what I'm here to talk to you about. How did I get to a place where me and my Carlos and I, we have a son, 11-year-old. He calls me more. So while we're here these past 2 days, every time our son is calling me, he's trying to get on the phone and sneak. But I've actually built a foundation for those conversations that we have. So there are different types of conversations. There are conversations if we want to dictate to somebody, so we don't want a back and forth. We just want to tell you what's going on, no negotiation. There are discussions, which I really love because they're open-ended and they're opinionated, and we can have discussions with our babies, honestly. I just had one with my son yesterday because all I do is work, and he was telling me about getting a hobby, and he's gonna buy me a puzzle. So I like the back and forth conversations. And then there's also deliberations, which we should really have when we let our children help us make decisions. They need to practice making decisions. So deliberations are really good, but there are different types of questions or conversations, and there are different type of questions too that we can couple with them. So you can ask questions like getting to know your babies. Who's your best friend, and why did you choose that person? Because then you're trying to see what they look for in a person. That's important. And coming, with friends, with a spouse, job. You can also ask them questions to enhance your family relationship. So you can ask them like, what's a favorite thing about each family member, or what's a tradition or ritual that they want to start. You can kind of get an idea of how they see the unit, and everything is meant to build from there. Another thing we can ask them is about their ambitions. So when you grow up, where would you like to live? In the country, in the city, in a traveling RV? And depending on what their answer is, you can help them map that out. So if you want to live in the country, you're going to have to buy the land, build the house. So you take the type of conversation you want to have, and the questions, and then it's like, how do we do that? It's uncomfortable to be, well, I'm not talking about having the conversations where it's like, we need to talk. I'm talking about like the everyday conversation so you can build a foundation. And for me, with my babies, I did it over toys. We have the game nights that they promote. We play games, even through this pandemic. Every night we were playing games. And that's how we've built it. Sometimes I'll sneak in a question or so, but sometimes it's just a game. So the other day, my son texted me, and he said he was coming over with Connect 4. And so I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about it. And it's like, well, my first thought whenever my 21-year-old says something, it's like, oh no, I'm not ready for the grandbaby. I don't want any, not yet. So every time he comes with something, I'm thinking that's what he's trying to say. But my next thought was like, if Connect 4 is like chess and he's trying to connect some dots, he probably want to borrow some money or something. So that's what I was expecting for him to come with some big thing over this game. So when he walks in, he doesn't have the game. I'm asking him what's up, and he tells me like he wants to quit his job, and that was it. He didn't really want to talk, but that's what we're used to doing. So I'm thinking he's coming up with the game so we can talk, but he just really just wanted to talk. So that makes me feel so good. when they call me and they reach out to me. So I think that's really it. I'm not as good a speaker as Carlos and Glenn, so I can't drag this out for 20 minutes. I can straight to my point. My point is, let's talk to our babies. Let's be that influential person in their lives, and let's help them make these good decisions. Because we want them out there making decisions like we would.
Right.
So it is practice.
I know, like, my kids, right before, my son and daughter are 20, I don't even know how, they're in their 20s, like 22, 23 or something like that, I can't remember. But anyways, right before the quarantine came, we had started having, everyone lives in different places. So we started doing Sunday dinners, right?
Yeah.
So my son just called, he's like, when can we start Sunday dinners again? Like, we can get back together, like, you know, we really missed that. But when they were in school, we used to do the ambitions all the time. At the beginning of the school year, we would go out to eat, and I'd say, what are your goals for this school year? We do that every year. So Sunday dinners is kind of like an offshoot from that, because we talk about, like, what are your goals for this week? What are you working on? What's the project you're, so we just kind of go around the table and still have those same kind of conversations that we, were used to when they were little.
Right, yeah. And we're big in my house with like trying things, and if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. So we built gingerbread houses. We're going camping next month for 4 days. I'm going to sneak out after a day and a half. But 4 days. Well, you know what? We went to the site. It's nice though. The site that we're at, it's a pathway that leads to this big pond. So it's kind of nice. It got its fire pit, and it's a nook for just us though. I mean, it's we got a tent. No, I'm gonna be like outside for real.
I need an AC.
We got one of those in the tent. We got air in the tent. We got air in the tent.
Wi-Fi, that Wi-Fi, that Wi-Fi, that dang on Wi-Fi.
But I mean, it's just about coming together, and then over the times when you come together, you have the conversations. Yeah. So that's my time.
All right. Good stuff. And that about the conversation starter, beautiful thing. Because that's what I'm doing really now with my daughter, my 4-year-old, right? And I just making sure that we know each other's favorite colors. So she'll ask me, Dad, what's your favorite color? And I'll say red. I'll say, what's your favorite color? She'll say, man, you like pink? I'll be like pink and purple. And she's like, how'd you know that, right? And she asks me this every day, right? So she gets excited, man, for me to tell her what her favorite color is. She's asking me what's my favorite animal. So I'm just, man, and she asks me this every single day. Like, I'm like, come on, the answer ain't gonna change. And I'll be thinking, and when I try to change the answer, she's like, Dad, that's not your favorite animal. I'm like, man, come on, man. Like, come on, let me ride with it. Like, so why you asking me? If you already know, right? Like, so, but that is good because it just lets the children know that we are familiar with them. Remember, it cannot be a transference of information if there's no relationship established, meaning that our children must relate to us. And the way that they can relate to us is through conversation, because that means that they can get an understanding of us, we can get an understanding of them, and now we won't mishandle each other because we got an understanding of each other, right? I know that your favorite color is purple and pink. So if I'm going out there getting a shirt, I'm not going to get a hot lime green shirt, right? Because I already know her favorite color. So when I bring it home, I already know that she's going to like it because it's her favorite color, right? So then that's important. And we get information like that, just in small conversations. See, a lot of times I think that we only get ready for the big conversations, right? And that's just within life in general. Sometimes we just focus on the big stuff, right? And we miss all of the little things that is going to get us to the big stuff, right? If we don't do the little things consistently, then we will never get to the big stuff. If we don't have those small conversations consistently, we will not have the right to have the big conversations because they're not going to come to us. They're not going to say, I'm thinking about having sex. They're not going to say, I'm thinking about joining this gang because y'all didn't have those small conversations to have the big conversations. You get what I'm saying? So the small conversations is payment. is payment, right? Right. The small conversations is payment, right? For the big conversations, you gotta pay for it. If you want to have those big conversations with your children, you want your children to come to you with those big conversations, you gotta pay. And the way that you pay is those little small conversations. What's your favorite color? Right? Like,
oh, y'all better strap in because he's getting ready to go. Like,
Right.
wait, no, but seriously, you know, like, I love every conversation and every video that Carlos ever posts with either one of his kids, but especially with his daughter, every single video. But like, I was just listening to you, and I've heard you speak 100 times. I listened to you talk about, she asks me the same question every day, and if I give her the wrong answer, she's like, wait, hold up, Dad, you know it's not right. But I was just thinking about the other dynamic that's being played out is that's safety and security for her, right? Like, you know, like every day I'm gonna ask you the same question, but that's just creating, like, I feel safe.
no doubt.
This is
No
safety
doubt.
and security right here because it's stable. It's
Right,
the same
right,
every day. And that's
right.
in her little mind. I'm gonna ask you the same question, but really what is being created is stability and
Right.
security and safety for her. Like, you just blow my mind every
That's good
time
stuff.
I
That's
talk
good
to
stuff.
you.
And
Every time I
that's
listen
right.
to you, like,
That's
y'all-
good stuff. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
All right, I'm
And-
sorry. I'm
and
gonna
then-
be quiet.
Right,
No,
right.
you ain't.
I'm done.
Right.
No, she's not.
But even with that being said, because now we about to build on that, right? Now, not only that, but now what happens is that somebody else can't tell her what my favorite color is, right? Because she already knows my favorite color. Somebody else can't tell her who I am because she already knows who I am, right? So then that's important with our children. We don't want our identity to be described to our children by somebody else and it stands, right? We want somebody else to try to describe who we are and they be like, that doesn't fall in alignment with who I know because I've been walking with this brother. I ask this brother questions every single day, and what you talking about is far from who he is, right? Because you can get into circles and people will be talking about somebody and you'll be like, hold up, you talking about that brother the wrong way. That's not him. I know him. You can try to sell it to me and you thought that I didn't know him, but guess what? I know him and that's not him. And then they say, man, what for real? Like, and then I explain to them what I'm standing on and they be like, well, I didn't know that about him. I was like, okay, then, well, then you got to come to a different conclusion, right? Because you don't have all of the information.
Right.
But people was trying, like, I'm dead serious. It was a guy trying to tell me about this guy that I knew, and I'm like, man, nah, that's not him. Like, this brother, he the real deal, man. And you trying to say that he's just all about this and all. No, that's not him. Because he done been in the midst of the scuffle and been right there, you know, and I've seen that. You might not have seen that because you might have got a different reception of him than I have, but it's a different part of him that you don't know, right? So those small conversations is important. Good stuff, good stuff. The foundations of fatherhood is what we are about to spill into right now, and this is what I'm excited to get into this part because I believe that the foundation has to be solid. If it's not, then it's going to be difficult to build your house. Well, you can build your house on a weak foundation, but what's going to happen to that house when the storm comes? It's not going to be able to stand, right? So when something comes that is challenging, it's not going to be able to stand. So if we're talking about our relationship with our children, we want to build that relationship on solid foundation. So then that's why we're talking about the foundations of fatherhood, the foundations of parenting. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the goals that I have as a father. What type of father do I want to deliver to my children? Now, how many times do you think that we really think about, man, what type of father do I want to be? Like, give it some real thought. Because I didn't really think about it before I got into the curricula and started to teach this stuff when I started to say, man, this warrants some thought, right? Instead of just going out and just doing it, because if I just go out and do it, then I'm a parent the way that I've been parented. And if I parent the way that I've been parented, yeah, it's going to be some good stuff there, but it's also going to be what? Some negative stuff there. Right? So now I said, man, let me go ahead and start to give it some thought. So this is what this is about, talking about, man, how am I going to deliver this parent, this father to my child? What type of father or what type of father do I want my child to have, right? And the way that we get that done is real simple. is the first thing that we do, we gotta reflect. So then that means that we reflect. We go back into our past. We reflect back into our past, and we start to look at the interactions that we've had with our parents, right? What better place to start than when you was a child? If you are dealing with a child, then why not start with when you was a child to understand what you want to give to your child? Now, this is why it is important, because the first thing that we are going to do, we are going to look at the positive interactions that you've had with the positive interactions that you've had with your parents. And what are positive interactions? Positive interactions are those things that has produced the positive feelings inside of you, that made you feel good. Because those positive feelings, guess what they do? They create a positive relationship. Remember, everything is about a positive relationship, because that puts me in a position to be influential in my children's lives. If they see me in a positive light and we have a positive relationship, then that means that I will be able to do what? Transfer the information to them, because there's no barriers between me and them. Have you ever been around somebody where it's like, man, everything that I done said, it's like they done hopped on the opposite end before I even got it out of my mouth? That's because it's a negative relationship. They feel negatively about you, right? So because they feel negatively about you, they are going to resist everything that you got to offer. It can be some information that's going to take them to the next level, but they're going to come against it because it's coming from you. Negative relationships are unfruitful, and it's difficult to get things done. And that's what happens time and time again with parent and child. It's a negative relationship, so now the child goes against the parent. What do you think my children? All of them is Browns fans. And where do you think they were born? They didn't see Bernie Kosar. They didn't see Webster Slaughter. They didn't see the new expansion of Browns, who ain't 1-31 and stuff like that. But they Brown backers to the death, right? But that's because of the influence, the positive relationship. Positive relationships create influence, but we got to be intentional. So then the first thing that we do, we reflect. We look at the positive, right? And then after we look at the positive, what do? We duplicate that positive. That means that the same thing that our parents did to us, that was positive interactions, created positive feelings, we are going to then in turn give that same thing to our children. That's simple. We duplicate the positive, and then what do? Now, next thing after the positive, what are we going to look at next?
Negatives.
The negative, right? What are we going to do with the negative?
Try not to do it.
Right. But but it's no such thing as try, right? It's either do or don't, right? Like, are you going to try to pick up that plate, or are you just going to pick it up, right? Are you going to try to get up and walk out the door? You just going to walk out the door, right? It's either, once we understand that negative, and the only time that it becomes a try is when we really don't identify it and we understand how it made us feel. But a lot of times we got to go back into that past and peel back those scabs. And I know it might be painful, and you might remember those bad memories, and you saying, man, dang, I don't like that. I don't even want to remember those negative interactions that I've had with my parents, because it's making me upset, and I'm ready to go look for them for real and hunt them down and bring them that work, right? Like, that's how you feeling about them, right? You feeling a certain type of way, right? So a lot of times people don't really want to identify those negative interactions that they've had with their parents. But when you do that, you are cheating yourself as a parent yourself, because now what happens, if you don't identify those negative interactions, you are likely to duplicate those negative interactions in your parenting, because you don't have no focus on it, because you're not saying, hold up, I done written down those negative interactions and I seen what they were. I done felt it again. I done brought it back up. I didn't like the way that my parents just hollered at me, right? I didn't like the way that they just bossed me around. I didn't like when they told me, man, get out the living room, right? That made me feel negatively. I got out the living room, but I got out there real slow, because I'm feeling a certain type of way. I ain't gonna try you like that, but I'm gonna walk real slow. because I'm feeling a certain type of way. You just talking to me any old kind of way, right? You talking to me aggressively, right? Those negative feelings that you felt when you were a child. And now when you think about that, just getting bossed around, because I know I didn't like that. So it's just saying to me, man, I'm going to give my children options. So if me and my grown-up friend is having a conversation in the living room and I need my child out of the living room, I'm going to say, man, you know what? Hey, son, daughter, hey, you can either go upstairs, play with your game, you can go outside, ride on your bike, right? But me and my friend, we about to have some adult conversations, and you can't be exposed to that type of conversation, right? What you want to do? Look, I done given her a choice. I done given my son a choice. I done given my daughter a choice, and that's what changes the delivery. And now they will feel a different type of way about you and their relationship. Instead of just saying, get out of here, you know my friend is coming over here, get on upstairs. Are they going to be out of the living room in both scenarios? Yes. But the other scenario, they're going to be like, man, I can't stand this joker here, man. I can't wait. I'm going to make it hard on him, right? And a lot of times, those are not isolated events. It happens continuously, right? It just happens continuously until it gets to a point to where the child is has really established a war inside of themselves in regards to you. They like, man, I can't wait until, like, I'm gonna do everything in my power to make it uneasy for you. Cause why? I just don't like you. Your child. See, people think just because we are their parents, we are automatically warranted to respect. We are automatically warned them to be influenced by us. No, we got to earn that. And we earn that through a positive relationship. So just understanding the negatives, identifying that negative, and then resisting it, right? That's how we start this parenting piece. Now, I'm going to give you an example. One of the things with my father, he used to come to the school and drop jelly donuts off at the school for me, right? He ain't do it for my brother. That's crazy. He ain't do it for my brother, right? My grandmother took a liking to my brother, and my father, I was his ace. I'm talking about I went with him everywhere, but he used to slide me them jelly donuts, man, powder joints, right? I can taste them right now. I'm telling you, this stuff don't make no doggone sense, man. Like how he got me turned out on these jelly donuts, man. It's like, I don't know what he was doing. It's like, I think he came up to the house with the jelly donuts like, man, I'm your pusher. I'm like, man, where the jelly donuts at, Pop, right? I pop up on him now. I'm like, you got some of them jelly donuts, man. You know I need them jellies, man. Like, but he used to drop. He used to drop it. He used to drop them jelly donuts off at school, and that used to make me feel good about myself. I'm just being honest, because I used to be like, man, my father, before he go to work, he was a janitor at Oberlin College, and he said that, man, before he would go to work, on occasion, he would just drop those jelly donuts off for me at school, and they would call me down there to the office and say, hey, your father dropped off jelly donuts, right? And I used to be like, that's good stuff, man. That's no doubt. And I used to eat the jelly donuts during lunchtime. And you know, back then when I was in school, the lunch, it just set me up for where I was going when I was 19, which was prison. It was like, it was the same type of stuff. like, it was the same type of food, right? Like crazy, right? But it was good for me to be able to eat my donuts, right? When all of the other kids eating their stuff, they looking at me, and I'm eating them and letting them know that it's good. Right, absolutely. So just good stuff. Another thing that my father used to do, he used to come outside and he used to be the all-time quarterback. Right? Me and my friends, we used to be outside playing football. He would come outside and he would be the all-time quarterback. That means that when I was going deep, I had 3-4 people on me. This brother was forcing the rock all the time to me, right? If he was a professional quarterback, they would cut him because he was throwing it to me in triple coverage, quadruple coverage, it didn't matter. He was throwing it to me regardless, and I would catch the rock, run in for the touchdown, do my thing, and I'm like, yeah. And my friends, they were so excited to have him out there because it wasn't that many fathers that were out there, as far as involved in the children's lives. So my father was accessible to my friends. That made me feel good about myself.
Cool dad.
Right. And they used to be like, man, your dad cool in the mug, man. Like your dad respected. Even my one guy, my older guy right now, man, he's my old school dude. And he say, man, your father always was respected. It was other people who was in the hood and stuff like that. They was getting caught up and things like that. But everybody always addressed your father with respect, right? He was just a cool dude. That made me feel good. Just like always, my father always was respected. It made me feel good about myself, right? So these is interactions that my father did when I was younger that left me with positive feelings. If I'm being intentional about creating a positive relationship with my children, then what do I got to do? I got to make sure that I duplicate those positive interactions with my children. Fast forward to me as a father right now, right? I remember in the second grade, when my son was in the second grade, he's going into the 7th grade right now, but he was in the second grade, and I can remember that when I had went into the school, I said, man, I'm coming to the school with a pizza. Boom, I got a pizza for lunch. My father brought in jelly donuts. I'm coming up in this puppy with a pizza, right? And I'm not about to drop it off.
Is it true you came with chicken wings?
I did the chicken wings too. Yeah, I did the chicken wings too. I did the chicken wings, pizza. I was doing you right. Right, I did the chicken wings. I did the pizza. Right. One time I did the Little Caesar pizza. I said, man, let me get that Little Caesar. That $5 holla. He was cool with it. He was like, man, come on, bring it in. Because it was different from what they had been getting. So when I come into the school, just imagine this. I come into the school and I'm like, because I was making my own schedule by then, I had already fired my boss for my clock in job, and I started to make my own schedule. So I'm like, I'm in a space now where I had my schedule. I can control my schedule. So I was coming in and I was sitting in the cafeteria with my son eating lunch with him, right? And that's coming from the same fabric where my father was bringing the jelly donuts and dropping them off at the school. I just said that, hey, that created a positive feeling for me. I'm going to duplicate that and give my son that same positive feeling, because ultimately, only thing that I'm trying to do is create what? A positive relationship. And the way that I can get that done is to do what? Increase the positive feelings through the interactions and decrease the negative feelings from the negative interactions. So then that's why it is so important to identify the negative and then duplicate the positive. I'm coming from a focused state. I'm intentional about what I'm delivering to my children, because I don't want to give them any old father, because if I give them any old father, then they will become any old man. They will become any old woman. And if they become any old man, any old woman, then they're going to end up any old where, doing any old thing, driving any old place. I don't want them to do that. So I want to start it by delivering to them a thought out individual. That's the work that we put in on the front end, and it can always start. It don't have to. You can sit up there and be like, man, hey, I haven't did. You can start right now and start to go ahead and start to deliver your children a different person right now, from going back onto your past, reflecting in your past, identifying the positive, identifying the negative, resisting the negative, duplicating the positive, right? So, and I can remember that when I had, after I ate the pizza with him, I said, man, you know what? We ain't gonna stop there. Let's go ahead and go to the playground. I said, we going to the playground. He's like, man, for real, straight up? Like, let's go to the playground. I'm like, man, let's go to the playground. So we go to the playground, get it in. And this is when I was telling him, I told his friends when we was there finishing up on the pizza, I'm telling his friends, like, I'm super dad, right? And they was like, super dad? I was like, yeah, I'm super dad. Yeah, that's who I am, right? And they just sit up there and like, they excited. Man, it don't take much for kids, right? The thing about kids is that they ain't looking for that person is cool or gangster, right? They just looking for somebody that's fun, right? So they looking at me, they like, man, he an adult? And he talking about he about to let us play with him like that? Like, okay. I'm like, y'all can't catch me. I got lightning speed. I'm super dad. I'm talking just like this. People looking at me like, this brother over the top, right? I'm like, man, but I'm serious. I'm intentional about what I'm delivering to my child, right? So I'm like, I'm super dad. Y'all ain't gonna catch me. So as soon as the bell ring and I'm like this, I'm like, you know, and then they was like, man, we about to catch you. I said, no, you're not. And then one of them said, we're going to get you one way or another, super dad. This all on video. You can see this on Facebook, right? So I'm getting to running, right, and I got the camera. I'm running. Now, you know, I'm like at a 4.2, 40. I'm getting it done, right? I'm lightning fast, right? They like, I think I said, right. Right, you're gonna be like, man, that brother need to be on the football field. We need to get that brother tried out for the Browns or something. I'm 4'2", 40, I'm gone, right? Like, boom. So the kids is all chasing me. The whole class is after me. Like, you can just see all of these jokers, man. The whole entire class, they chasing me. And then one of them, they jumped from right there. Like, them jokers, now that I think about it, they was built a different way. Because they jumped from right there, right? And then they jumped and clanged onto me. They like, ow. I'm like, oh, I say you like, hey, I'm still running, right? I went down to about like a 4.3, 4.4, right? I'm like, I'm still going though, right? I'm like 4.3, 4.4 right now, right? I'm like, you ain't slowing me down that much, right? I'm still gonna get it. Another one, cling onto me. I'm like, dang, this stuff crazy, right? And then another one, and then another one. They finally just literally take me down. This is on Facebook. They take me down. You see the camera. I'm like, oh no, they getting super dad. And it was like, you would see one of the kids with their head, when they arm around my neck. I'm like, man, this stuff is crazy. Some of them was getting a little bit too aggressive. One of them was like, we gonna jump on your head, super dad. I'm like, hold up, man. I don't care if you 3 feet or 8'1". Like something about to have to give, brother. Like you got to go get your parents or something. I'm telling you, they ain't about to be jumping on my head. Like I said, hold up, let me cut this stuff down, man. Cut this stuff down, right? Like I'm like, man. But it was crazy, man. But after that happened, they was like, man, dang, super dad. They was like, we're gonna get you, super dad, and they got me. And after that, I can remember they was all asking my son. My son comes home telling me like, man, they wanted to know when super dad coming back in. That brother was the talk of the school. Like everybody, when Valentine's Day came around, that brother got a little bit extra Valentine's Day gifts, right? They flood. Remember, he was getting loaded with Valentine's Day gifts. They like, you know, you got super dad, right? Like, let me check out super dad, man. They trying to get to super dad through him, right? They like, we just trying to figure out a way to get to super dad, man. If we got to go through you to get to super dad, you got to connect, don't you? You got super dad, right? So it just increased, you know, just my son's popularity inside of the school, and he just felt a certain type of way. The same way that I felt good when my father used to be the all-time quarterback, right? And he was throwing it deep to me, and he was accessible to my friends, is the same way that I was accessible to my son's friends, the same way he felt, those same positive feelings. And that's how we go into building that positive relationship. I'm talking about intentionally. I'm not just going as the wind blows. I am focused. You can't wander to the top. You gotta literally be focused to get to the top. The top is reserved for those people who are focused. A positive relationship with your children is reserved for those parents who are focused. If you know, that stuff is good. I'm telling you, that stuff is good. I'm telling you, that stuff is reserved for those individuals who are focused. And the only way that we can be focused is if we got the right information circulating around in our heads. If we don't have the right information circulating around in our heads, then guess what? We just gonna wing it. And you gotta pay the consequences for winging it. your children will pay the consequences for winging it, because they will not be able to access your information that you got from the years that you have been on this earth, because the relationship is not in the state that it should be for them to be able to trust your information. Children don't take candy from strangers. We taught them that. They won't take information either. So we got to be able to relate to our children. And this is what it's all about. Intentional, right? Intentional. So now after we look at that and we duplicate the positive, and another thing too with the negative, I've seen people who say that, man, you know what, I didn't like when, you know, my parents would tell me that they was going to do something and then they didn't fall through with it. They didn't come through with it. They said that they was going to get me this, they said that they were going to be there, and then they weren't, right? And then when they grow up and be parents, guess what they do with their children? They are not there for their children the same way that their parents were not there for them. You already know that it's poison, so if I know that it's poison, why would I give it to my children? If I've gotten sick from that poison, then more than likely my children will get sick as well from the same poison. We already know it to be negative. That means that we go ahead and cut it out the picture. Identify it and resist it. And that's how we go about establishing that positive, strong relationship. The next layer to establishing the type of father that I want to deliver to my children is I start to look at the people on the outside. I look at other fathers. I see other fathers doing different things with their children, and I say, I like that. I'm going to go ahead and apply that to my parenting, right? I'm telling you, I'm good for that. If you doing something that I like, I'm going to take it, brother, and it's going to be mine. I don't care. Like, we all are meant to share. Anything that I say, I'm telling y'all, y'all can take it. Y'all don't have to say it came from Carlos. I don't care. Take it. It's yours. Because I'm going to take yours and you tell me some stuff, and that stuff makes sense, I'm rocking and rolling with it. And it's going to be mine. And when I'm talking to a tech, the tech going to be like, that's some good information. All of my information coming from all these other people, right? Like, I don't know who it is coming from no more. It's coming from so many different people. I'm just a collage of a whole bunch of different people. Some of you might hear some stuff coming from you. You be like, oh, that's my stuff. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we start to look at other fathers. Man, I said I wasn't going to sweat.
Crazy.
Right. I thought I figured it out, man. I didn't.
First of all, that's layers. We'll talk about that later.
Right. I thought the layers were going to stop it, man.
We'll talk about it later.
So, but next thing that we do is we start to look at other fathers, and we start to get pointers from other fathers, seeing other fathers, the way that they interact with their children, and we say, oh, I like that. I like the way that they talking to their child. I'm going to talk to my child the same way, you know, and then after we do that, now we start to look at maybe movies, TV shows, favorite movies or TV shows that you've seen that's shown the way that fathers have interacted with their children. Some fathers that you've seen on the big screen. The ones that come to my mind is what? Ice Cube. Okay, on Friday? Okay, absolutely.
Are you there?
Oh, are you there yet? Oh, that is a good one. I haven't heard nobody say that one yet. Yep. Are you there yet? Boys in the Hood. So I like Boys in the Hood. I like the way that Furious was with his sons, right? We just always made sure that he gave them information. He was always breaking stuff down for Trey. And he made sure that Trey had the proper information to go out there into society and be successful. He says, I'm going to put so much stuff on your dang on brain, so when you get faced with a challenging question, you're going to have an answer for it. When you get faced with a challenging problem, you're going to have a solution for it. I'm going to put it inside of your head so you will be prepared. I love that about Furious Styles. So if I looked at Furious Styles and I said, I have intentions on being a father like that, what do I got to do? That means that I got to get into conversations with brothers, right? And learn some more. I got to expand my knowledge. I got to read books, right? I got to do studying. I got to work and develop myself if I'm going to develop my children. I can't develop my children if I don't develop myself. How can I develop my children if I don't develop myself? See, Furious Styles was developed. He was a developed brother, and that's why he was able to develop Trey. You see, Trey said, let me out, though. Let me out. No, let me out. He said that, didn't he? Absolutely right. Right, yeah, right. He was like, right. And in the meantime, he said, let me out. He ain't know. Man, that was crazy. I just seen that the other day. When he said that, the people who killed Ricky pulled up on him at the bus stop like, now we got you too, good brother. Like you done got let out the car. Right? Like, got him, right. But, right. But yeah, but we look at different movies and TV shows. All of this stuff is going into determining what type of father that we are going to deliver to our children. Another thing that I say that I looked at is my wife and kids with the Wayans brothers. I love that. I love how creative he is with his children, right? He was just always creative. So now I've established a creativity in my parenting as well. What is the creative side of my parenting? I do something inside of my household called the double up. And what is the double up? The double up is the main reason for the double up is to make sure that my children, they have the minds to be prepared for opportunities when they present themselves, right? Because opportunity only smiles at those people who are prepared. If you are not prepared, opportunity will keep on moving to the person who is prepared. So then that means if you're not prepared, I'm opportunity, I'm looking all good, right? You can't get me because you're not prepared. I'm gonna go to you because you are prepared, right? Opportunity only smiles at those individuals who are prepared. So with the double up, I'm trying to make sure that my children have the mind of preparation, because I understand that when they focus on preparation, then they will be successful, because opportunity is bound to smile on them. And when opportunity smiles on them, then they're gonna be in good places. But if you have limited opportunity to capitalize on, you're gonna be desperate and you're gonna make desperate decisions, right? Back to the ropes, right? That's only because of limited opportunity. Only reason why you got limited opportunity is because of your lack of preparation. So the double up is geared to bring that quality up out of them. What happens is that they get allowance every 2 weeks, $20, $30. This got established back about 2010 or something, 2011. They get $20, $30 for allowance. And then what I tell them is that whatever you have in your allowance, at the time that I say double up, that means that I'm going to double it. That means that if you have $30 saved from your allowance, I'm going to give you another $30 and you'll have $60. If you have $40 saved, I'm going to give you another $40. Now you will have $80. When I say to double up. But the thing about double up is going to come at an undisclosed time when I'm not telling you when I'm going to say it. So you don't know when it's coming, because opportunity is not going to tell you when it's coming. It's just going to come, and if you're ready, you capitalize. If you're not, you suffer. That's just the way that it goes, right? So then this is the concept behind the double up. And the thing about the double up, it will not take away from your regular allowance. So I can say a double up on a Thursday, Friday is your allowance, you still get your allowance too as well. Right? The double up. I remember that I was working with him, right? And I come up to him about 3 months later and I say, man, double up, right? And he's like, oh, this stuff is for real, right? The first one say, man, dang, this is crazy. Go downstairs and he come back up with $1.80. He's like, this stuff crazy. And I seen as soon as he was walking, I said, this brother looked like he was in the Green Mile. This brother was like, I said, man, come on, man, like, the copper dropping, pennies dropping. That copper was dropping. I said, man, you got the copper. You scrape together everything. That brother was like, I said, come on, man, let me see what you got. He come with $1.80. I said, here go another $1.80. You got $3.60. That means that was 3 months of allowance that he went through, right? So he could have doubled up on 3 months of allowance. What he had was $1.80. And he's like, dang, I done blew my opportunity, right? I done blew the opportunity because of my lack of preparation. I told the other one, I say, double up. And this brother, he takes off, he like, boom. He take off, I'm like, and He made my heart jump though when he did that. I'm like, man, I don't know if I got enough to cover this tally. Because this brother might have been laying in the bushes on me. I said I thought I had him. Right? It was one of them times when I said to double up. I said, man, this brother, it felt like that brother, like you come to somebody and say, man, let's fight, let's get it in. And then that person just start doing kung fu, like, start warming up, and you like, man, brother, let's talk about this stuff, man. Because this stuff, we ain't got to be doing this, right? Like, right, I was tripping. Like, this brother knows some stuff. He gonna start doing some Bruce Lee stuff. That brother takes off down the steps. I'm like, man, that brother almost fell down the steps, man. He was going so fast. He come back up with $35. Like, I got $35. I was waiting on for you. I said, there it is, man. I got that. Like, man, here go your 35. He then had 70, you know, so he was like, yes, good stuff. But both of them realized that they could have, you know, made some adjustments in their spending. And they like, man, you know what? Hey, I could have made some adjustments in my spending, you know, and that was crucial. That was crucial. So then that's what that double up game is all about. Even with the 11-year-old now he has started to get in on it. The youngest one. And I can remember I did it with him a couple of times and he was so focused on it. And I remember we was at AutoZone. Look at how it's working with his mind. And we had AutoZone and he already benefited from the double up. We had AutoZone and he like, I said, son, he say, Dad. He's like, let me get them gloves. Can I get them gloves? I say, man, some mechanic gloves, son. Right? What you want the mechanic gloves for? He's like, I just want them. Can I get them? I said, yeah, you absolutely can. He says, okay, go ahead and buy them for me. I said, no, you got the money. He said, no. He's like, I ain't got no money on me. Right? My money's at the house. I said, oh, guess what? Man, I'm like a bank. Man, I'm gonna loan you the money and I'll just get it back from you when I get to the house, right? And he looked at me and he said, well, I don't really want them now. I said, I know that's right. Because he didn't want to spend the money on the gloves because he didn't want to take from his double up because he's been able to benefit off the double up. So now he's saying, I'll spend your money, good brother, but I'm not about to spend my money and short my chances of the double up. You see how his mind is working? Like, and that stuff is going to spill over when he becomes an adult. So then that's why I'll be so excited about the interactions with my children by the way that I'm delivering the father that is thought out. I'm not just giving them any old father. Like, I'm intentional with my movements. And if I get intentional with my movements, then I'm bound to get to the destination that I desire to be at. And where's that destination? I want my children to be successful adults. I want them to be assets. I want them to add value to society. I want them to add value to humanity as a whole. I don't want them to be a drag. I don't want them to be a drain from humanity. I want people to be able to see them and say, you know what? That's that good brother right there. Because their life is going to be rich. And it starts with understanding what type of father that I'm going to deliver to my children. That's the foundations of fatherhood, fellas. That's the foundations of fatherhood. And that's what it's about. It's just about understanding that we getting started off on the good foot. So I commend y'all brothers, man, coming in here on prime time. This is Saturday. I know this is prime time, you know? Like coming in here and just peeling back the layers, lifting up the rock and seeing what's up underneath there because y'all know that y'all got children and y'all saying that, man, I know that I'm not no perfect parent. And if I'm not perfect, then that means that I got room for improvement. That means that I can get better. And if I can get better, my children are too valuable not to get better. It's easy for you to say, man, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and chill out. I'm just going to go ahead and do something else, man, today on prime time, Saturday, the day before Father's Day. But no, y'all made the commitment to come here, and I appreciate y'all. My good brother ain't got kids, and he's like, I'm coming to get it from this brother gonna be so suited and booted, man. This brother gonna be like, man, I'm suited and booted, man. Like I got knowledge already. Like before the baby even come out, like man, we're gonna get this brother. We got to get him straight. Like, he gonna tell the hospital. No, I'm not signing that. I'm going to the DNA. Don't worry about it.
I'm being intentional. All right.
I'm intentional. They gonna be like, Brother, who you been talking to, brother?
Let's call my lawyer, Carlos.
Right. But that's what it is, fellas, man. That's what it is, man. I hope that this stuff was informational for you guys, man. And you guys have a phenomenal Father's Day. And you two young ladies and the ladies in here, you know, I appreciate y'all. Don't take this information back to the ladies, man. This is no, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
I found
No,
me
this is-
being a mom,
right.
I found it, and I learned something sitting
Absolutely.
here.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
And that's what I always say is like this information. It goes for both mom and dad. Because the only thing that it's about is establishing a positive relationship. And the same thing that a father uses to establish a positive relationship with their children is the same thing that the mother has to use to establish a positive relationship with their children. It's the same exact skills. This is interchangeable, right? It's just good information that we can use to get us in the place that we want to be, right? All right, so then that's the conclusion of Fighting for Fatherhood. Appreciate y'all brothers, man. All right, we're going to keep on building too.
I said I was gonna be quiet, but
Ah.
what you done?
All right.
I didn't hear.
You went into the train, can't go
Hey,
stop.
right. I told y'all strap in, didn't I? Like, man, I've heard him speak so many times, but every time it's just like he has the ability to reach out and pull people in and engage them. But I just wanted to ask you if you are still doing your classes online.
Right.
So they can, if they want more of this, they can connect with you on Facebook for your live class.
Hey, so fathers, another thing too, and I've discussed it with a couple of y'all. Another thing too is that I'm also doing. See, it's more to the to this piece. It's a whole 8 sessions of this thing, man. A whole 8 sessions of an hour and a half sessions. So this is just like the beginning, but it's more to it than this, right? And that's what we will be doing. So it's another class that you can get into. It's an 8 sessions, and right now with the pandemic is going on, I was doing it online, right? But we can either start to adjust because I think it's starting to open up, and maybe we can start to have classes in here. And I'll come down here from Columbus, brothers, and we can build. I'm dead serious, man. We can get it in. You know, we can do it once a week or whatever may be the case and get it in. You know, straight up and get squared away. You know, like what better conversation to have than conversations about what type of father that we becoming. Like so many times we go out there, we be having dead conversations. And if we having a dead conversation, then how we gonna get to where we need to be at? Right? Like this is right. Like this is good time spent, man. This is good. I know it's good time spent for me, you know. So this is what it's about. So yeah, so we can we'll have y'all's information and we'll just go ahead and start, and we'll start up a cohort or whatever. However we'll do it. We can do it online as well. So I do it online on Facebook, Messenger, and I'll sit right in front of the computer, me and you, and we rocking and rolling, going through the material, going through the curriculum. Yep.
So get connected with him. Either I know he has your contact information, but he's on social media. He's always live. He's always doing something live. Good stuff. I mean, really good person to get connected to. And I just want to ask you all to bring somebody else. Like, this is good stuff. Like, you know, we worked on this. We have a whole lot of time because COVID, just like everybody else, knocked us kind of, you know, off a little bit. But we worked on this and we pulled this together. But I definitely know that there are more people in this community that can benefit from what he has to offer. So once y'all get y'all cohort together, or if you're gonna reach out to him online, invite somebody else, because they need to hear this.
Absolutely.
Like, this is good stuff. Like, I mean, I support Carlos 100%. Like, I love hearing him talk. I mean, he's probably the only person that talks more than me. That's Carlos, because I could go too. But I just want to thank you all for coming out. This is his stuff. This is his show. But I came along in support this time because this is my community. You know, when he told me he got some grants down here, I was like, yes, this is perfect. This is what we need down here. So. Absolutely. So we rocking and rolling, brothers. We rocking and rolling, man. Let this just be the beginning.
on our journey, man, and we'll continue to build. You know, we'll continue to build. The iron sharpens iron, man. You know, these conversations, man, it helps me. I just get stronger. Like, you see, I'm dead serious. When I'm talking, I get stuff downloaded into me to give to you, you know? So I get more stuff. So the more I help other people get an understanding, a clearer understanding that I get, right? So it just helps me out, right? And that's the way life is, man. So the more that you give, the more that you get. That's just the way that it goes. But when you come to the table, like, man, that's what it's about, man. So y'all brothers being there and sisters being there, like, man, I'm about to give you my attention. Like, that's beautiful for me because that just charges me up. And it makes me go out there and get, because to me, what I'm seeing is that brothers is hungry. Like, y'all hungry. So if I feel like that you're hungry, I got to go out there and get food to feed, right? I got to. So when you force me to go get food to feed, guess what? It goes through my hands, so now I know what the food tastes like. That's a beautiful thing for me, man. You know, and that's why it's a commitment. So I'm committed. So yeah, we'll get it going on. Get what there go the paperwork right there. Y'all got any other questions? Was it good? Good stuff, man. Good stuff, man. Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, I seen your book. I caught your book. My dude had it, and then I had put it on the cart in our library.
No doubt, Will. No doubt. No.
Yeah, they put it on our cart in the library, so I grabbed it and read it.
Wow.
I actually put it in my little pack. I can take it home.
That's what my people said. He said he took the book home. He said, no, my brother said, he said, man, Los, I got it in my net bag. He said, I put that puppy in my net bag, man.
Bro, you have to take that home with me.
That's dope, man. So you say you had to put it in your bag, man. Like,
It's definitely something you can read over and over.
no doubt, man. No doubt, man. So I got the greatest responsibility, becoming the parent your child deserves. I got that coming out in July. So yeah, that stuff is dope, man. I'm excited about it
So I got
too.
the what's the prison without
Prison Without Bars. Yup.
That's a good book.
Just raw information, man. Like,
Stuff you need to know.
right, stuff you need to know. And just think that, man, if we ain't having them conversations, then how we gonna move? We only gonna move based on the conversations that we having. That's why it's so important that we pay attention to our conversations that we have it, right? When we start to pay attention to our conversations that we have, our life will change around, man.
Yeah. I see it too, like how you post pictures of you and your dad, each on the dad's day.
Right, yup. My father, he used to come drive from Oberlin to Columbus, pick up my son, driving back to Marion Correctional, right, and then take my son back to Columbus and then drive back to Oberlin. He did that 4 or 5 times a year, you know, like, just committed. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what was up. Right, for the whole 10 years, man. You know, so when things used to happen inside of the prison, I used to be like, man, I'm so committed. I got stuff I got to do. I got to go see my son on the visit. I'm not about to sit up here and get caught up with you jokers, and y'all gonna be in a different place, right, on lockdown and stuff like that. Or I got to go out there on the visit with handcuffs on. You know, nah, I'm gonna discipline myself and I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna become the father that I need to be while I'm inside of here. You know, so I'll be ready to take it up when I get out. Right, like, just the mindset, man. That stuff worked too, man. So he's 23 now, man. You see this little fella, man, he's 23 now, man. That brother, 23, man, just moving like he moved too. He doing landscaping. That brother, he started college, but then he dropped out. But he ain't doing what I did though. You know, right? He like.
Ain't gonna do that revolving door.
He ain't right, so that's what I was trying to say. Los, man, like, man, you define the odds. You ain't been to prison. He's like, man, I ain't going there. Like, you know,
keep that mindset.
Right?
Good.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's it, man.
So you were saying that a lot of guys, like, you know, they when they go in for child support, like, they just don't show up, and then, you know, they get reamed and all that.
Right.
All right, so my youngest son, I actually got 2 baby mamas.